in North Korea could make penis shrouds with them. So I made up a statement. He who saves a single elephant, it is as though he has saved the entire herd. Mark it down. It's a takeoff on the Maimonides thing. He who saves a single life, it is as though he saved the entire world. Which is true. But at this point, I'd rather save an elephant. I have more faith now in the elephants and the gorillas than I do in human beings. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the racket. I'm sick of the red and the black. You know, I read it years ago, the whole red and the black thing, where the only way to get ahead in Napoleonic France was, remember Stendhal's great book? I think it was Stendhal, wasn't it? The Red and the Black? Does anyone know? Look it up, see if I'm right. I think it was right. French writer, the book was called The Red and the Black, and it was about a young man who's ambitious in France, and he's trying to look ahead in his life, and how does he get ahead? There's only two ways to get ahead in Napoleonic France, either through the red or the black, either wearing the red of the uniform or the black of the priesthood. And it's about this aggressive individual who's ambitious, and he has to choose either the red or the black. Nothing's changed here, and in some ways, I mean, it's not. The military's not going to give you any great, let us say, external rewards in our country. The people who are committed in the military are truly patriotic and truly do it for their own satisfaction. They don't do it for any societal rewards. It's the same with the police. Let's put that aside. In trying to help us understand the hazards of psychiatric pills, Dr. Peter Breggin has developed a new scientific concept which he calls medication spellbinding. What? He joins us now to explain how he came by this scientific concept and what it really means.
Michael, over the years as a psychiatrist, I've evaluated innumerable cases of individuals driven over the edge by psychiatric drugs. When I was reevaluating about 100 of these clinical cases for my new book, Medication Madness, I began to see a pattern that I call medication spellbinding. Medication spellbinding has four basic effects. First, people taking psychiatric drugs rarely realize how much the drugs are impairing them mentally or emotionally. They often do not recognize that they've become irrational, depressed, angry, or even euphoric since starting the drug. Second, if they do realize that they are having painful emotional feelings, they do not attribute it to the drug, but instead blame their feelings on something else or someone else. They get angry at their husbands, wives, or children and become abusive. Or they may blame themselves and become suicidal. They may even just blame it on their mental illness without realizing that it all got worse or began with starting the psychiatric drug. Third, medication spellbinding makes some people feel that they're doing better than ever, when in reality they're doing much worse than ever. In one case, a man was high on a combination of antidepressant and tranquilizer drugs, and he went happily on a daylight robbery spree in his hometown wearing no disguise. Another happily embezzled money while documenting it all in the company computer files. Both men thought they were on top of the world. Fourth, some people become so medication spellbound that they will lose control of themselves and perpetrate horrendously destructive actions. My book opens with the story of an otherwise kind and gentle man who becomes agitated on an antidepressant and drives his car into a policeman to knock him down to get his gun to kill himself. Or the 10-year-old boy with no history of depression who hung himself after taking a prescription stimulant for ADHD. Particularly striking to me, none of the people I have evaluated has ever perpetrated again after stopping the offending medication. I've had zero recidivism in the cases where the individual has stopped the drug.
Do the same things happen with any psychoactive substances such as alcohol or marijuana?
Well, to some degree, the same things can and do happen. When a person's drunk, he might think he's the life of the party when he's the death of it. And of course, alcohol and street drug intoxication are associated with a great deal of crime and violence. But there is a difference between the effects of taking drugs on your own and taking drugs prescribed by a physician. Most people believe that their doctor would never give them anything that could make them violent, suicidal, or just plain crazy. Often the doctor reassures the unwitting patient that Patient needs to take more of the drug that's making him crazy.
I understand the law makes a distinction between people who act badly while using drugs or alcohol on their own and people who act badly when the drug has been prescribed by a physician.
Exactly. If you do something irresponsible under the influence of alcohol or an illegal drug, the law is likely to hold you responsible. You should have known better than to get intoxicated, and you should have foreseen the risks. But if you've been prescribed a drug, especially without being given any warnings about the potential dangers, that's called an involuntary intoxication. You're not aware of the risks and dangers. You're simply following your doctor's prescription by taking something that's supposed to help you. The law looks more sympathetically on involuntary intoxications.
Well, sounds like you're saying any psychoactive substance impairs judgment, but psychoactive drugs like antidepressants and tranquilizers are more insidious and potentially more dangerous.
Yes, all psychoactive substances impair brain function, and with that they impair judgment. But people who are a little tipsy on alcohol or a little high on marijuana may experience this impairment as enjoyable. People may experience temporary emotional anesthesia or an artificial high on a psychiatric drug. However, in every case, it's a manifestation of brain dysfunction, and judgment is always impaired. I have no objection to the occasional and responsible use of recreational drugs like alcohol, but I strongly object to the idea that any drug can help people solve their personal problems. Psychiatric drugs work by impairing brain function, and when we're under stress and have problems to solve, we need a fully functioning brain and mind. We need to be able to take complete responsibility for ourselves and to think through our problems with rational clarity. All psychiatric drugs impair those higher mental functions. Instead of a drug, we need courage, determination, self-discipline, and sound principles to face and overcome our personal problems. That brings us to what I call the primary principles, the refrain of my weekly report: protect freedom, take responsibility at all times, express gratitude for all your gifts and opportunities, become a source of love. You can find me and listen to all of these reports and download the transcripts at breggin.com. That's BREGGIN.com.
Dr. Breggin, thanks for being on the Savage Nation.
Michael Savage. Afternoons 3 to 7 on Talk 910 KNEW and online at 910KNEW.com.